Hi there, Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter. Today we're going to make these pretty Mother's Day cards. I'm going to show you how to color sparkly gems, and I've got a giveaway from our sponsor, Biennial. They make the gorgeous markers that we're going to use today, and they're giving away 15 sets, 5 sets of 72 markers and 10 sets of 36 markers, and you can sign up to win on my blog. We're going to start off by putting our clear stamps on a block. This set is by Love Nicole, and it came with stamps and dies. I picked this up at AC Moore before they went out of business, but I did see you could find this on Amazon as well if you wanted this particular stamp set. I'm also taking the little gem stamps and putting them on small 1-inch blocks because they're really going to be the kind of the fun things to color in this project. So I'm going ahead and I'm stamping this 3 times because I wanted to practice with a couple different ways of coloring, and I really liked how all 3 came out. Unfortunately, my die slipped when I was cutting out the red one and I had to pitch that, but you'll see how to color those different colorways depending on your favorites. And really, you can do any color with the techniques I'm going to show you today. You'll just want to, make sure you have a couple shades of each tone that you're going to use. Now I like to, if I know I'm going to die cut something, or if I know I'm going to use my scan and cut, I like to space things out apart, like about at least a ½ inch between shapes, and that gives you plenty of room to be able to use your dies and your die cutter without accidentally cutting into something else, or it gives you room to use your scan and cut machine so that you can do a little border if you want to. So there's just a little quick tip there. But I do like to stamp everything out and conserve my cardstock. So to begin, you're going to put your palest color. I picked 3 shades of violet, and I put my palest color down first and just did kind of like a base layer. You don't have to go crazy about saturating it because with glass and with gems, you generally will have more of a more hard edges on your colors because the way the lights reflect and refract. You can have some blended edges at the shadows where kind of the glass is getting a little bit thicker and softly blending, but you can put streaks in there and it's going to look like glass because you'll get those streaks in glass. And sometimes you'll find fancy perfume bottles that have cut designs into them, and they're just, will have a little bit more sparkle, more facets like you'll see when we do the gems, and they'll reflect the light differently and you'll have more lines, kind of like what I just put in the corners with the dark purple. I just kind of put some lines there. So with glass, it's actually quite forgiving. You may think that it has to be perfect, but it really doesn't. Now I decided I would do the top of the bottle kind of like crystal, so I used 3 shades of gray. Now just make sure when you're doing this that you pick either all warm grays or all cool grays, because otherwise they'll clash with each other. So for this one, I chose warm grays because I thought they'd look nice next to that violet, but cool grays would work well. It's just personal preference, but just stick to the same ones when you're blending your grays so it will look like it goes together. Now I want this to kind of have like a silvery, almost like brushed silver sheen to it, so I'm painting this in by doing the lighter color, then doing that dark in the corner with kind of a curve to it, and then doing that medium color with a curve to it, and I didn't go ahead and blend it. Now if you have any messy areas or you want to add some details opaquely, you can use a metallic marker that will work really well. Now we're going to do the same thing with our gems. I did just each facet I colored a different color, and then I used a white gel pen and I put in some sparkles. So your white gel pen is going to be your best friend anytime you're doing glass, anytime you're doing gems, because it's going to give you that little glisten. You could also put some like glitter on top if you wanted to. That's not really changing your coloring, but it does kind of catch the light a little bit and make it look a little bit fancier. So for the blue, we're doing the same thing. We're going in with our lightest blue, and of course whatever color you want to do, just pick 3 shades of it as close as you can. The 72 pack has a lot of really great markers in that Biennial collection, and I'm just using the less expensive chisel and bullet tip version, so you don't need to have really expensive markers. When you want to blend, if you've got a chisel bullet marker, you want to go in with that chisel side, and the reason for that is that you can press, it's going to take the brunt of that pressure that you're going to give it, and it's going to give you more ink, and when you flood more ink out, it will give you more of a blending result. So I did the same thing with the blue. You can color everything in with the white, then do every other facet on the side with a medium, and then do the center with a dark, and then add sparkles. You don't even have to stick to that pattern. You can use, vary where you put your darker colors and lighter colors, and it will still look sparkly. It's pretty amazing. Now with this one, I didn't have 3 pinks, so I used kind of like a blush, almost like a Caucasian skin tone. I used a light rose color and then a medium rose color, and it worked fine. I was actually really bummed that I messed up the die cutting of that, because I think that would have made a really pretty feminine Mother's Day card. Now, if you accidentally color over a line, maybe you're doing some details with a metallic pen like I was here, and it covers up your stamping, just grab a straight edge and a fine tip pen and you can put it back in. I like to use a micron pen. The nice thing about micron pens is that you can use your markers again over it without smudging it. And the micron pens are alcohol marker proof, and they're also watercolor proof. So it's a nice versatile supply you can use with all of the other. Now look at the middle bottle there. I used cool markers for the crystal on the blue bottle, and I used warm on the other two, just so you can see a little difference in color tone. Now there you can see a little detail of how I was doing the gems, but it's basically give each facet a different color and then add some sparkles. There's nothing too tricky about it. Now what I'd recommend doing, I cut this out of a piece of test paper first because I wanted to see how it was going to cut out. I would recommend you can either make a pattern like this and then place your die cut over that to see exactly where it should go, and then tape it in place. That's probably a really good way to do it, because then your die cuts will end up where they need to be, and then you won't end up miscutting. I have one of those magnetic platforms, and that's what I used, but it didn't hold well enough today, so... I know, I'm still bummed out about that. Anyway, I'm putting my card together. I've got a piece of 4" by 5 1/4" shimmery blue cardstock, and I am adhering half a doily to it. I just took a round doily and cut it in half. And I like this technique when I've spent some time coloring something and I really want that to stand out. Doing something like this works perfectly under a vase, under a bottle, under anything that could be it could be under a fruit, any sort of still life type thing on a card. It works really well because it adds some texture. It adds a little bit of fanciness. It's very feminine if you're doing a card for a lady or a girl. And I just think it's nice, and they're very inexpensive. Now this, I thought the die was kind of weird how it cut out the perfume bottle in 2 pieces like that. But then I thought it would be a nice opportunity to kind of pop up that centerpiece and then make it look like, one of those perfume bottles that's got some kind of cut details or molded details on the side. So that's what I figured I would do. So I'm using a wet glue with a fine tip to adhere down this the frame part of the bottle. I kind of debated whether I was going to cut that middle part of the die out and just have the outline, but I thought I would do the first project the way the die came, just to see. And it didn't look like it was meant to be cut apart, so I don't know, sometimes when you get those budget stamp and die sets, things are a little strange, but I like this effect. I liked having that center part popped out, because I thought it was kind of weird that the center part didn't match the small square in the middle. But anyway, I thought it was a really cool effect, and you actually could pop out, you could hand cut out the square and give that more dimension if you wanted to. I wanted to make my perfume bottle look a little extra special, so I'm using a Wink Stella pen to add some shimmer to my bottle. And what that is, it's like a water brush filled with a glittery liquid. It's really fun, and it's just great for adding a little bit of glam to your projects. So you just paint it on and let it dry, and of course, because alcohol markers are not impervious to water, the water in that Wink Stella does not mess up your coloring at all. So that's really great how that works. So I've die cut all of the pieces, and this die set did have the little die cuts to go around the gems, which was really handy. And I decided just to kind of arrange it out. And I like to place this down before I glue it just to make sure the pieces look good. And then I just found a Happy Mother's Day sentiment from another stamp set that I had. Now, I didn't have the perfect cardstock to match the perfume bottle, so I thought, well, I'm just going to die cut a tag out of white and I'll color it with the same marker that I used. So there's a quick tip. If you don't have a matching embellishment or tag, go ahead and color it with the marker you used to color your focal object. The great thing about alcohol markers is that when you're coloring something, it dries very quickly. It absorbs into cardstock. You can stamp on it. You could add colored pencils onto it. And since it's permanent, nothing you're putting on top will generally bother it. So it just makes your other supplies a lot more versatile. And I think that's the mark of a really handy tool to have in your craft stash. So I'm just stamping that Happy Mother's Day right on top of those tags. And you can see I'm getting a really nice crisp impression. And then I'm simply going to embellish those with a little bit of baker's twine. I think just a dry little sprig of ribbon or baker's twine is a really nice touch because it gives you a soft element on your card and it just gives you a little extra texture. And when you're working in monochrome or all one color pretty much, anything that you can do to give it a little bit of detail, give it a little bit of interest, and make it a little bit more exciting is really going to help that card. It's going to have an overall very calming, soft feeling because of the monochrome, but by adding these different elements of texture, it's just going to make the card a lot more interesting. And then to embellish this card, all you need to use is those die cuts that we colored, those cute little gems. I really hope you try coloring glass or gems because they are so fun. And actually with alcohol markers, you could color actual rhinestones and make them match your project perfectly. So if you didn't have these stamps, just find some clear rhinestones and color them to match. It'll work just fine. And finally, I'm putting on these little sparkles. They were also a die in that set, and I cut it out of some glitter cardstock. And I'm using one of the applicators from a diamond painting kit. And this is a tip from Sandy over at Crafting from Almost Everyone. And I am using that to pick up and place my little sparkly die cuts here because they're otherwise kind of difficult, tiny little things like that. And this card has a lot of shimmer. It's fun. And I just think it turned out so well. Now for the center, for the inside of your card, I'm going to stamp You're Amazing. That stamp was also in this stamp set. And I'm thinking that maybe I need to put that stamp with my sentiments because I can think of so many cards that I would love to have that sentiment in. And if you're using inexpensive stamps from the craft store, using a pigment ink will really help if they don't generally give you great impressions. And there you can see this card done in purple and using purple ink to stamp the inside. It looks really pretty and it's going to look pretty in whatever your mom's favorite color is. So don't be shy, mix it up and make it work for you. And there's the one that didn't die cut very well, which was a bummer, but hey, what are you going to do? Make sure you check out my blog and sign up to win a set of markers from our sponsor Biennial. They're also offering 20% off their set of 36 and set of 72 broad and bullet tip sets, and I will put that link with the coupon code attached, so all you gotta do is click the link in the video description. So check that out if you need some markers. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, happy crafting.